I'm Johnathan Maitland. Welcome to Watchdog, The Big Dinner. Tonight,
the ultimate taste test. How will British supermarket curries go down in Bombay? How do you like your eggs, sir? The way food retailers make sure yolks are the perfect yellow. And they're some of Britain's best-selling cookbooks, but do the recipes work? That's Watchdog, The Big Dinner, the food programme with Bite.
Right, welcome to Ethnic 98, which is the first ever food festival in Britain devoted to non-British nosh, and we've got the lot here. There's Thai, this is the University Challenge portion, your starter for 10, Caribbean, Chinese, and of course, Indian. Right, first of all, makeup. Now this is Claire with, and this is Claire without. Still lovely, undeniably, but different looking. Now this food also, believe it or not, is wearing makeup, and without it it's rather pale and unappetizing, but with it, it's really rather attractive. Emma Massey now reports on cosmetics for food.
Another day, another photo shoot for top photographer Paul Webster in his London studio. But today his bird looks a little ropey. Time to call in the makeup artist.
I'm a specialist food and drink photographer, and I'm hired by retailers and manufacturers to photograph their products and make them look as good as they can be.
So the roast chicken isn't roasted at all. It's lightly steamed to puff out the flesh and painted with a mixture of Marmite and washing up liquid to give it that lovely golden brown colour. The chipolatas get the same treatment. Then the bacon is crisped with a blowtorch and the whole lot is garnished with oil-coated raw vegetables which keep their shape better. At last the chicken is ready to face its public and the camera is waiting. The image is recorded digitally and just as with other cover girls, Paul uses his computer to erase the blemishes.
There you go, good enough to eat.
So, if the glossy ads have done their job properly, we'll have all been persuaded to nip down to the supermarket to buy that glorious food. But the persuasion doesn't end there, and lighting can be crucial. Douglas McDougall of Reading University is an authority on the appearance of food. The cold-looking light on the right is used in laboratories and textile shops where accurate colour matching is important. Supermarket requirements are different.
When you look at this type of lamp that is used in the supermarket, based on the colour of sunshine, is warm, attractive, highly appealing.
So this is the sort of lighting supermarkets use to make us buy food?
Supermarkets use this lamp because it makes food look really attractive.
It's easy to demonstrate how important appearance can be in influencing how we think food should taste. Bring on the jelly. 3 different coloured jellies. All we have to do is say what flavours they are. Easy! Orange is orange, yellow is lemon, and red is raspberry. Or are they?
That one, yellow one's definitely lemon.
Had a hint of lime.
Possibly
in it,
lime, yeah. What about the orange one?
Orange, I think.
Orange. Raspberry or strawberry for the red?
I'd say strawberry. And a bit of raspberry in there.
Typical. Let's check with the expert then.
Well, I've got something to tell you. You were all wrong. They were all made from the same jelly, the same colour. You just expected them to taste the way that you tasted them.
Because of the colour?
Because of the colour.
You'd expect makeup on the outside of a fancy cake. How else would you tell the Teletubbies apart? But what about on the inside? Would you expect to find chemical colourings in something as natural as this? Retailers say we don't like our eggs to be any old yellow, so farmers feed their chickens a dye that makes them lay eggs with brilliant yellow yolks. One dye used is a chemical called canthaxanthin. It's banned as a food additive in the UK as it's been linked to eye damage in humans. Until last year, government advisors said it shouldn't even be given to animals, but they changed their mind this February, persuaded by evidence from Europe, so farmers are free to dye eggs chemically. So ingrained is our expectation that yolks should be a vibrant yellow, even farmers who resist chemical colourings have to resort to non-chemical alternatives. Martin Pitt feeds his 20,000 free-range chickens seaweed and maize instead.
Chemical colourants are just like mixing powder paint. There's no food value at all in it. There is this colour chart, which I've got here, which shades all the yellows from very pale to very dark, and they're numbered from 1 to 15. And so supermarkets are able to specify to a feed manufacturer, we want the chicken to lay an egg with a yolk colour 12.
Okay, Martin, I'd like to see the difference in one of your eggs as compared to a supermarket egg.
Right, well, let's break 2 of these eggs in here and just see if you can tell me the difference. Now then, you can see the difference.
Surprising colours, much lighter.
Right, because that is a yolk that is about 12 or 13, whereas mine is using the natural ingredients. It's not possible to get the yolk any darker than 8 or 9.
Marks & Spencer and Safeway both sell eggs which contain confaxanthin. Sainsbury's, Tesco and Asda permit the use of another dye, citronaxanthin. Eggs do not have to be labelled as containing chemical dyes because the chickens have been fed the chemical. It's become part of the egg rather than added to it. Dyes are also used in highly processed foods to make them look like we think they should. The pinkness of these sausages doesn't come from the pork but a dye, cochineal. Without it, the bangers would be paler.
The raw materials they use to make this product are not prime cuts of meat. Therefore, they don't have a nice pink, meaty presentation. So in order to get that colour, they're going to add colourings to it.
Traditional sausage makers who use prime cuts of meat to make their sausages have no need of dyes. But prime cuts cost money, and most shoppers want a cheaper alternative, which means a sausage with a bit of slap. And if the food needs a cosmetic touch-up, then the manufacturers are more than happy to oblige.
Colourings, flavourings, flavour boosters, these are the tricks of the trade for manufacturers. They're cheap for manufacturers to use, but they turn food like sugary water into a fruit juice-looking product. They turn fat and rusk in a sausage into looking like lean meat. It's deception, but it's cheap for manufacturers. They love them.
So there you have it. Trick photography, fancy lighting and added colour. With food, as with anything else, first impressions can be misleading.
If you run a takeaway and you had one wish, it would be that France 98 lasts forever, because let's face it, an awful lot of people have been ringing up for their dinner at half-time rather than the hassle of making it themselves. And if you do order your dinner in, it's highly likely to be chicken tikka masala. This is the Bernard Manning portion. You could, of course, get the ready-made stuff from the fridge, but either way, chicken tikka masala is now, remarkably, Britain's most ordered dish. But what do you think the Indians make of our great British curries?
A lot's happened since the first curry house opened in Britain 200 years ago. Now there are more than 8,000. In fact, there are now more Indian restaurants in London than in Delhi. They first got popular in the 60s, and they've been growing ever since. Fashions may have changed, the decor hasn't.
Right, this is my local tandoori, and I'm very much a regular here, so much so that my mates actually send my mail here when they can't remember my address. And this place bills itself as one of the best Indian restaurants in Clapham Junction. But there are only 3, so it's not that much of a recommendation. Even so, it's very good, believe me.
This is the much prized seat by the aquarium, and this is a portion of chicken tikka masala. And this is the number of portions of chicken tikka masala that were eaten by Britons last year. But this most Indian sounding of dishes was actually invented in Britain.
It's a classic Indian curry house dish. It's authentic to the curry house rather than to India. The way it was created was when a customer probably asked for chicken tikka, found it was a dry dish, asked for sauce to be put on it. The chef went and put some tomato sauce and cream, put the chicken back in, sent it out as a chef special and charged more for it. A lot of the popular dishes that you see on the menu of the typical Indian restaurant, you wouldn't see in India. If you went to Madras and asked for a chicken Madras, they'd give you a very funny look.
Now, the average curry menu has so many dishes on it, you'd think a kitchen the size of Wembley was needed to make them all. But the chances are they all come out of just one pot. British curry houses have developed a formula. Make just one big pot of medium curry sauce, and when the orders come in, add whatever's needed. Panji! For instance, extra chilli powder for a vindaloo, or cream and almonds for a korma. Hardly genuine multi-spiced curry then, not that we seem to mind. Your local tandoori now has plenty of competition though, from supermarkets, where your average chicken tikka masala at £3 is half the price. And a lot of those supermarket curries are made at this factory. It supplies Sainsbury's and Waitrose and makes 500,000 pre-packaged meals a week. Indian restaurants should watch out, in fact, because this market's growing at 20% a year. The boss here says everything is authentic, the ingredients, the recipes, the lot.
If you take a packaged food of ours to Bombay or Calcutta or Delhi or Madras, you'll find that if you say that this is chicken tikka masala, I bet that the chef there in India would say, yes, it is chicken tikka masala because correct ingredients have been used.
Well, is he right? Well, the only way to find out is to take the curries to India. Coles to Newcastle, anyone? We checked in 5 supermarket curries and 1 high street one, courtesy Akash Tony, my local tandoori. Interestingly, your taste buds don't work as well at 30,000 feet, so if you think airline food's tasteless, now you know why.
It had to be the curry. I'm just limbering up.
Despite taste bud impairment, this was spot on. Then again, the BA Cook was UK Indian Chef of the Year. Bombay, home to 15 million people and an awful lot of restaurants, food markets and stalls selling bel puri. That's the local delicacy. The most popular takeaway, though, is Chinese. But there is, of course, no shortage of curry.
Just having a light breakfast curry.
Curiously, chicken tikka masala, invented in Britain, has now caught on here as well.
In a classic case of selling ice to the Eskimos, the British now appear to have introduced the Indians to chicken tikka masala. The idea seems to have drifted back here in the last few years. Now, since Bombay is the most westernised city in India, if it can't catch on here, it can't catch on anywhere.
The venue for the taste test, the Taj Mahal. Slightly grander than my local one, mind you. And in the cool box, chicken tikka masalas from Tesco's, Sainsbury's, Asda, Safeway, M&S and Akash Tony. The chefs here certainly pay their dues. Training takes 5 years.
Mr. Oberoi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
He may be a head chef, but what's he like with a microwave?
5 minutes in the microwave, stir halfway through. Can you manage that?
Oh yeah, sure we can.
And you need a knife. Ah, executive chef, executive knife. Okay, and in. I bet they didn't teach you this at chef school.
And while they were slaving away, just time to check the scores. Right, the moment has arrived. We have 3 chefs here with 43 years cooking experience between them and 6 chicken tikka masalas from Britain. Let's taste them, okay? Yep. Would any of these qualify in your eyes as a genuine chicken tikka masala?
It is tasty in its own way, but you couldn't name it as chicken tikka masala.
Our chicken tikka masala is, it leaves a taste in your mouth of the spiciness, the flavors and everything.
It's too creamy and this is really too sweet. It's extremely
quite
sweet.
Nice tasting?
No, not for the Indian palate. Yeah, they're definitely not for the Indian palate.
Generally, it was thumbs down. Masalas should be dry, said our experts. These were drowning in sauce. But having said that, the 2 highest rated were Asda at $2.79 and Safeway at $1.99. But what about Tesco, M&S and Mr. Noon's highly authentic Sainsbury's?
And rest of them are nowhere. I mean, they don't even pass.
When pushed, though, the best of the rest was Akash Tony, in bronze medal position. Chefs are notoriously critical, of course, so just to be fair, we tried the curries out on the man on the Bombay omnibus.
1 British curry.
Yes.
For 3 mangoes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Okay. You have a microwave?
Yes.
Good, okay. Yes. Thank you very much.
Ready.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Round of applause.
Seems like a fair deal to me.
This guy's called Orlando Satchel and he's demonstrating something called Nouvelle Jamaican cuisine, and if you want to do it at home, one option would be to get Orlando to come around and help you, but that's a bit impractical of course. The other option is to buy a recipe book, and a lot of people do. The market for recipe books is £35 million a year, but as Matt Allwright's been finding out, some recipes don't actually work.
If you've ever tried to cook one of these and it was a complete disaster, then you're in good company. Barry Watson is a good cook. In fact, he's a master chef. In the amateur chef finals, his chocolate bomb went down like a chocolate dream.
High-octane chocolate.
But there's one pudding that defeats Barry, the chocolate nemesis from the River Cafe cookbook. Last year, he tried making it for a dinner party. Instead of a miracle in chocolate from one of London's most shishi restaurants, Barry had this. Cocoa slops. And he wasn't the only one. In June of last year, it made page 3 of the Daily Mail. It was that serious. Here at the River Cafe, of course, they have no trouble turning out chocolate nemesis. The authors of the book do say that every cookbook is suited to different levels of skill, but anyone can make their dessert given a degree of competence. And to show that it can be done, they very kindly baked one, and it was chauffeur-driven to the offices of the big dinner. There it is, the chocolate nemesis, solid, three-dimensional, and even slightly warm still. So if the chefs can cook it, why can't we? The Good Housekeeping Institute tests its own recipes in the sort of kitchen you'd have at home before publication. It's worried that there are a few other cookbook recipes that won't work.
The chefs may well cook these recipes several times, many times in their restaurants with themselves or their sous chefs there. But they're not really doing it in a domestic kitchen, which is where the person who buys the book is going to be cooking the recipe, and that's really where they should be tested.
So who better to put the recipes to the test than the 3 finalists from MasterChef 1997. In the yellow kitchen, Barry Watson, who's cooking a potato and celeriac cake from the Mezzo cookbook and the chocolate nemesis from the River Cafe. In blue, Julie Havard with a roast halibut with spiced lentils and coriander from Quaglino's and lemon tart from Alistair Little's Italian Kitchen. In the red kitchen, Julie Friend with lightning coq au vin from Ainsley's Meals in Minutes and an almond and lemon ricotta cake from the River Cafe cookbook too. And I'll be making a cup of tea. Master chefs, start cooking. But they soon ran into trouble. First with the quantities. Mezzo's Greek salad. What are you doing with all our olive oil?
It's actually for the dressing for the feta cheese salad. 16 fluid ounces, that's awful lot of oil.
Cooking times are a problem with Quaglino's lentils.
I'm a bit worried that the lentils they've been cooking now for the required time in the recipe and they're not cooked.
Alistair Little seems to have had a problem downsizing. 1 flan case, double the filling.
Got a bad problem here.
You've got all that left over?
No.
Time to take out the River Cafe's almond lemon ricotta cake.
That cake
or a spoon
is
or something.
completely raw.
I was really looking forward to that. And finally, of course, the chocolate nemesis. This time, Barry's leaving nothing to chance.
I'm making sure the cake tin we have here is exactly the right size to what the recipe stipulates. Yeah. So it's the right size tin for the right length of cooking time from the book.
Right.
And I'm supposed to test this with a flat of my hand. This had 30 minutes.
And that's exactly what it says in the book, yeah?
30 minutes, yeah.
Not really what you were hoping for.
No, it's not.
And now the bit I've been waiting for, the taste test. First up, Quaglino's halibut with spiced lentils. But could the master chefs resist rescuing their dishes?
Now, Julie, when we cooked this before, we found that the lentils were still quite chewy. What have you done?
Yeah, well, the lentils were very chewy, and what I did was actually boil them for about an extra 20 minutes. So really double cooking time.
Alistair Little's lemon and ricotta tart. Recipe said cook for 25 minutes. It's all over the place, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, even though I cooked it for an extra quarter of an hour. It said to bring it out when it's just slightly wobbly, which I did. So I was hopeful that it might set a bit when it was cool, but I don't think it's going to set now.
When Good Housekeeping first tested Ainsley Harriet's lightning coq au vin, they thought 25 minutes cooking time left it underdone. This time it was different.
It's a little bit sharp, and I think the onions could do with a little bit more cooking.
And probably could benefit from the wine cooking a bit longer, but it's actually quite delicious.
River Cafe Book 2's almond and ricotta cake. The recipe said 35 to 40 minutes until set.
I had to give this at least 25 minutes extra cooking time, and I turned the temperature up between 150 right up to 175.
Mezzo's potato and celeriac cake. 12 ounces of butter for just 2 potatoes and 1 celeriac bulb. plus 3/4 of a pint of olive oil for the dressing. Not the healthy option.
It's pure butter. There's far too much butter in it. It's just so unedible. I follow the recipe word by word, and obviously this is the result.
And finally, the chocolate nemesis. The recipe said 30 minutes or until set, but after 45 minutes... Right, big moment then. Moment of glory. The nemesis. Let's have a bit. A bit runny.
It's just not set. I can't physically think how I can get that out of the cake tin with basically out it disintegrating all over the place.
Tonight, a big dinner result. Conrad's Mezzo and Quaglino cookbooks are grateful to have had both these recipes brought to their attention and will correct them when they reprint their books.
10 years ago, if you'd asked someone what polenta was, they might have said it was the Italian for police or somewhere to go on your holidays. But now, of course, we all know that it's mashed maize, available from all supermarkets, and you can grill it or boil it. Likewise, tiramisu, sun-dried tomatoes, and ciabatta. A decade ago, all unheard of, now they're everywhere. But just who is it who decides what foods are going to be fashionable next, and on what basis?
Welcome to the future.
BBC News on January the 1st, 2001. The headlines. Jerry Halliwell, formerly known as Ginger Spice, is to present Question Time. The decision was taken by the BBC in a top-level meeting.
You never know. ...2001, a food odyssey. These, we're told, will be the foods of the future. Roasted hyacinth bulbs, good in salads. Samphire, usually found growing out of cliffs at the seaside, good with chicken. And instead of ketchup, lavender sauce.
Now, the people who set these trends are chefs. Not any old chefs, mind you. We're talking top chefs at posh places like this. And for them, part of the joy of their job is experimenting.
And the more obscure the ingredients, the better. It might be everywhere now, but in 1988, lemongrass was virtually unheard of. Until Paul Gaylor, now head chef at top London hotel The Lanesborough, used it with scallops. 10 years later, lemongrass has caught on big time. It's now found in supermarket soups, curries and sauces. Paul Gaylor knew he was onto something when the customers started asking questions.
Oh, everybody were asking, oh, that's a strange little taste there. It's lemony, but is it just plain lemon juice? No. And I said it was lemongrass. Lemongrass? What's lemongrass? It's hard to explain. Let me show you. So I used to get the waiter to take it up on a little plate and say, well, that's it.
So now Paul Gaylor's on the lookout for the next big thing, and there are plenty of people around to help him find it. Food pluggers, if you like. Greg Wallace, for instance. His first big achievement was to make rocket popular.
We started bringing it from Italy, and it was obvious this was really going to take off. And I found an Italian couple, old Italian couple, believe it or not, had an allotment in Clapham, and they grew wild rocket for us. It really started to pick up. Then we were doing about 5 kilos a day. Today we're doing about 60 kilos a day. I used to walk the streets of Soho and Covent Garden and actually walk into the kitchens and say, hello chef, you don't know me, but believe me, I'm a really good greengrocer. I can do it. Now you build up a reputation and it's all word of mouth.
So what's he plugging now?
Mizuna. Sounds really exotic, Japanese leaf. Comes from a great exotic place called Surrey. Pissenlit. It's dandelion or dandelion. This has been used by the Italians and the French for years and years and years. Baby chard. It's the red veins in it that make salads look so pretty.
But for new foods to really catch on, they have to make it to the supermarket. And for that to happen, they have to be spotted by what the industry call selectors. In effect, food talent scouts. Recently, for instance, the talent scouts noticed that Moroccan food, as served here at Momo's, was getting a little bit trendy, alerted by the fact that people like Madonna kept on cropping up here. The result? Not 1, not 2, but 3 Moroccan-style dishes now on the supermarket shelves.
I did a trip to...
All of which are from Marks and Spencer. Their team of 50 food selectors keep an eye on what we're eating on holiday as well. This lot, for instance, are taste testing a range of American-style pastas, spotted by food selector Shirley Aubrey when she was in California. If they get the thumbs up, they'll be on the shelves this week.
Come on, Rob, you've been trying to try this. When you twiddle, bacon bits go everywhere. You like that one?
It's good. I like a little bit of spice on the Cajun.
It's good, good. It's really creamy.
I don't think I'll be eating that on my diet.
So what's in it for wannabe food moguls? How much can you make from starting a trend? Well, 20 years ago, Virginia Lapalco introduced fresh-filled pasta to Britain. She now makes a profit of $2.5 million a year. In 1985, Andrew Palmer was tired of tin soup, so he launched his own range of fresh homemade ones. He's now $2 million richer as a result. And when Sarah Rennie bought a bag of flavoured popcorn in the US, she brought the idea back home and made $1.5 million in just 2 years. Plenty of incentive then for Paul Gaylor, who gets at least 10 calls a day from food pluggers. They suggest everything from cactus leaves to smoked ostrich. But what are his tips for the future?
Tomatillo, a vegetable from Brazil, cross between a Cape gooseberry and a tomato, great in sauces and salsas. This one, a chow chow, again from South America. Watch out for this one, it's going to be very popular in years to come. And I want you to try this one of my specialties I'm working on at the moment, a spice ice cream served with a banana tart. This one's curry. I think you're going to enjoy it.
Curry? Again?
You're looking pensive to start.
I can't see it catching on.
Well, they said the lemongrass 10 years ago never caught on, but look where it is today, John.
Right, that's nearly it for this week. Just time to launch an emergency appeal, a bit like Crime Watch this, for a duck. A Bombay duck, that is. Now, as you probably know, Bombay ducks have been the spine of curry house menus for many years now, despite having the taste and consistency of stale fisherman's underpants. They are, to curry houses, what the battered sausage is to fish and chip shops. They're always reassuringly there. Except they're not anymore, because rather mysteriously, they've vanished. And Jim White here, hi Jim, who's a journalist, has been trying to track down Bombay ducks for many months, but with no success.
No, none at all. I've tried everywhere. I've been to the Balti houses in Birmingham, I've been down London's Brick Lane, I've been to Southall, but they're not to be found anywhere. Apparently they've been banned.
And why have they been banned?
Well, they've been caught up in a wide ban involving dried fish products from the subcontinent, even though they themselves have done no harm or wrong to anybody before. They've just been banned.
Yeah, but on what grounds?
Well, I think it's a health hazard, but as far as I know, they've never actually done any harm to anyone's health.
OK, Jim, don't get emotional. It's a bit like being reunited with your adoptive parents on one of those American talk shows, but we've been looking everywhere for Bombay duck, OK? We've put out an appeal on an Asian radio station. We've been to Bombay and couldn't find one because they're out of season, but Harrods food halls came up trumps. Here are a flotilla of Bombay ducks. Don't worry, they're not illegal because they're fresh frozen. All you need now is salt, so get salting.
Right.
And while he's doing that, let me tell you what's on the next edition of The Big Dinner.
Would you pay £10 for this loaf of bread? Well, that's exactly what you'd be charged in some places. We'll tell you where. And Mr. Kipling makes exceedingly good cakes. But who is he, and can The Big Dinner find him?
Jim, how have you got on?
Well, all it needs is a year sun drying on the banks of the Ganges, and it'll be lovely.
And do you want chips with it?
Yeah, and salt and vinegar.
All right, Jim, thanks very much. Until next time on The Big Dinner, see ya.
Tensions mounting here on BBC One, and it's all down to the return of one man. EastEnders is coming up next.